Hey guys, welcome back to the Backcheckpodcast. We got first guest appearance, Evan Fleming here. You guys all loved him with all 18,
22 of you.
all 22 views, and probably no likes. And then we have another guy, Ben Goslin. He's also here, and we're going to do a little recap of the trade deadline. These guys are big hockey fans, so they're going to give you their opinion on trades, and we'll see how this episode goes, and hopefully we can get more than 22 views for Evan. If you guys like Evan, make sure to leave a thumbs up because he's leaving next year. So make sure to like that. And if there's any reason to like the video, make sure do it for Evan. So the first trade that happened is Josh Manson was traded to the Colorado Avalanche for a prospect, Drew Helson, and a second-round pick. Guys, what do you think of that trade for Colorado?
Good trade. I mean,
I do like the trade. Colorado's making a push for the playoffs, trying to get their first cup in a while. And the guys playing on the team, this will be kind of a recurring theme. Guys aren't thinking about the future, thinking about picks. So to not give up much, I think is a big thing for Colorado and adding a depth guy there.
Yeah, Josh Manson should be able to slide into that top four alongside Sam Girard nicely. And moving into our next trade, another minor trade, but it's a minor swap, Tyson Jost for Nico Sturm. Pretty good trade for both teams, I'd say. You guys would probably agree. Good for both players to get a change of scenery.
Yeah, I think that's a good trade for both of them. I mean, I don't think that really is going to be, those aren't two major names, but I do think that improves both teams just a little bit.
just Avalanche keep adding more players to the repertoire, and you can tell this is their year. They're going for it.
Yeah.
They want it.
Rightfully so. Another minor trade for Frank Petrano. New York Rangers adding some good depth to their bottom six. Good Boston guy. We love Frank Petrano. So obviously, you've seen Frank play a little bit. So what do you think of that pickup from New York?
I do like Vetrano. I think he played a lot better in Florida than he did in Boston. But I do like the deal for the Rangers. In the playoffs, guys get injured. You need depth. That's one of those guys that's just going to add depth to that New York lineup, already strong lineup.
Any thoughts on the Vetrano move?
I mean, I always thought from the start of the season, New York's bottom six was kind of weak. Not a lot of skillful guys, a bunch of goons, in my personal opinion. So they definitely needed to change things up here, and this is what they're doing.
We're not naming names, though.
We're not naming names. We're
not naming
saying
names.
Specifics.
Ryan Reeves. So, and then this one was kind of the big major trade that sparked a lot of controversy. Montreal traded Ben Chiarot for a prospect and a first-round pick and a fourth-round pick. And this seemed like a lot of value at first for Florida to give up, but at the same time, they're picking up reliable stay-at-home defenseman, a lot of playoff experience. Do you think Florida gave up too much, or do you think it's worth it to go on a cup run to add a guy like Ben Chiarot?
I think Florida's doing just fine. I think Montreal, at this point, they know they're about to enter a rebuild phase. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, and now they're bottom of the league. So right now, I think Montreal's focus is just trying to rebuild, get some good first-round picks, good draft picks. And Florida, I think, is also another team that's we're in it for the win this year, and they're
going for it.
Yeah, they're going for it. I mean, they're a good team, and they can do it. They're just missing a few extra things, and I think this trade line definitely helped them out to make them go all the way.
Yeah, Florida's making their big push for it, and you need a lot of defensemen in the playoffs. Ben Chiarot's another one of those top guys, and a big piece of that trade is the 50% of salary retained by the Canadians.
Yeah.
And they didn't give up any big players, any depth guys. I think Ty is a depth or a prospect for them, and then a couple picks. Like I said, players don't really care about the picks all that much. Florida wants to go for it now. Those picks aren't going to help them right now. So.
Right. And then the next trade was honestly one of my personal favorites, a really good pickup. So they acquired Calle Yarncroc, who's actually cousins with Elias Lindholm and from the same town as Jacob Markstrom. He gets sent to the Flames, also 50% salary retained, for a second-round pick that is originally Florida's, a third-round pick, and a seventh-round pick. Again, another ad by Calgary. We're seeing a theme at this deadline that the market is a little bit more expensive, but teams are adding players because they want to go on a deep run. I think we see that here in a similar trade to all the others, right, guys?
Yeah, the big thing with this trade deadline was the salary cap, with it staying at I think it's 82 and a half.
Yeah, 81 and a half, something like that.
Yeah, right around there. But with the flat cap staying there, you're going to see a lot of teams, or you did see a lot of teams retaining parts of salary and giving up an extra pick. And I do like this move by Calgary. They didn't give up too much, and they got a really good player in return. for a cup run here. I do think they are a contender.
Yeah, I think Yarncroc will fit in perfectly with that team. He seems like he's a very versatile player who can move up and down the lineup. So I like that pickup. Do you like that pickup for them?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, I think in Seattle's doing a good job. I mean, clearly with the expectation of a new team, we saw Vegas did so well, made it to the finals, and Seattle is really not living up to that expectation, the standards that Vegas set. So right now, I think Seattle's, first year, they're already on a rebuild, so they're just getting a bunch of draft picks, and you see that later on this trade deadline, they're going to keep getting more draft picks. So yeah, it's a good trade.
And here's one of the this trade I'm about to announce right here has some of the most mixed opinions at the trade deadline. Personally, I love this move for Tampa Bay because this is how they always restructure the team. They bring in guys like Barclay Goodrow, Blake Coleman. They don't care about draft picks. They're going to be contenders anyways. They have their core. So they acquire Brandon Hagel, a solid middle six forward from Chicago, and 2 4th-round picks, exchanged for 2 first-round picks, and Taylor Radish, who was up and down with Tampa this year, and Boris Kachuk, who's a AHL, NHL fringe player. What do you guys think of this trade? I see this as a win-win for both teams because I think both teams get what they need. But a lot of people said Tampa overpaid for a guy like Hagel. But what do you guys think?
I mean, I think I would agree. I think 2 first-round picks, that's very expensive. Chicago, in my opinion, definitely won this trade. I mean, cannot go wrong with having first-round picks. So definitely a little bit overpaid. I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think Tampa definitely did overpay with the 2 first-round picks. I could see one in this trade. But I do think that getting Taylor Radish and Boris Kachuk out in Chicago is going to give them a better chance to get in the lineup every day. And Brandon Hagel's a good locker room guy, and I think he'll add quite a bit to that Tampa Bay lineup.
Yeah, again, he reminds me of those guys like Coleman, the Goudreaus, the Ross Coltons. Those guys, they've won playoff series for this team in the past. They keep replacing that third line, and that's why they're so successful. And I think Tampa's bound for another deep run. And I see these first-round picks not as valuable as people think because they're going to be so late. I know at the end of the day, they're 2 first-round picks. But they're not going to be top 10 draft picks. So that is something to consider. And moving on to our next trade, I really love this pickup by Minnesota. Nick Delorier, tough guy, scored a goal last night, 4th liner, traded from Anaheim for a 3rd-round pick. Both teams kind of get what they need here. What do you guys think? Good pickup for Minnesota?
Yeah, I think Anaheim realizes that, they're a good team. They're not that far out of the playoffs right now, but they're not there yet. They're not contenders yet. So giving up a guy like Nick Delorier for the Wild, making a push, and then getting some more picks, some more young assets that we'll see in later trades, I think this was a great move by them.
Yeah, Anaheim's in a really tough spot right there where they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're also just not going to get that first overall pick or top high picks. So that's really a tough spot. So I think Anaheim's and they're getting there. A couple more years, they're going to be dangerous. I mean, Trevor Zegras is already up in there, up and coming. The kid's nasty, and so I think give it a couple more years, Anaheim's going to be great, and this trade is only going to help them.
Yep. And then going over to one of the major blockbuster trades at the deadline, Boston acquires Hampus Lindholm. Again, key 50% salary retained, and they did lock him up to an 8-year contract extension worth $6.5 million a season. They gave up a first, a second, Urho Vakanainen and John Moore. But you got to remember, one of those 2nd-round picks was probably just to take the John Moore contract. So what do you guys think of this trade for both teams? Again, I think both teams getting what they need out of this trade, but some people say Boston did overpay.
I'm going more
So
take this first.
I do really like the trade. When I first saw it, I was a little mixed. I had some mixed opinions on it. Mostly because I thought they were giving up too many picks, and I really like Urho Vakanainen, but that's the price of getting a good player in the NHL. And then when you learn about the 8-year extension that they were working on pretty much while the trade was being talked about, I think this was a great move by them. And then the John Moore and the extra 2nd-round pick, that's just to make the money work. Same with the 50% salary retained. I like the creativity there, and I think that's going to be a good move for Boston, adding a big guy on the back end.
I mean, I can definitely see how to being overpaid, but then keep in mind, 50% retained salary definitely comes into play here. So, honestly, I think it's an equal trade.
And then moving on to the second blockbuster trade, again, Bill Zito, masterclass Florida GM. They acquired Claude Giroux, again, 50% retained here. 5th-round pick, Connor Bunneman and German Rubisev. Now, the Flyers did not have a lot of leeway with this trade because they respected Giroux's wishes to go to the Florida Panthers when there was better offers on the table. A lot of respect there. It's a business, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with people, so respect there from the Philadelphia Flyers organization. They got a 1st-round pick back third-round pick, and Owen Tippett, who was, I think, 13th overall pick or 10th overall pick, like 3-4 short years ago. So I think this is a good trade for Philly. They get draft picks. They get a guy like Tippett who needs a change of scenery, but Florida adds a guy like Claude Giroux for their Stanley Cup hunt. So, I mean, what do you guys think of this deal?
This only just solidifies like the fact that the Florida Panthers, they're going for it all this year. They are getting a stacked lineup. And I mean, much respect to Philadelphia. I mean, surprising for me to say that. They honestly respect this guy's wishes. I mean, he could have gone to Avalanche again, another team that's like going for it all this year.
Mm-hmm.
So this trade is definitely, in my opinion, a win for Florida. I mean, Philadelphia doesn't necessarily lose, but I feel like in the long run, this is going to be Florida's win.
Yeah, Claude Giroux's a big guy to add to Florida. He's been in the playoffs. You know, he's a great locker room guy, another great leader, and you need a lot of those guys in the playoffs. So I really like the trade for Florida.
Yeah, me as well. And then moving on to our next deal here. So we have just a simple deal. Again, Florida adding a depth piece, Robert Haig from Buffalo, 6th-round pick. Again, Aaron Ekblad out for the season. He'll be back for the playoffs, just adding a nice depth defenseman. I think everybody can agree with this move. It's a solid move by Florida. And
yeah, pretty simple trade.
Makes sense. Makes sense for Buffalo, too. And then moving on here, this one, I did not understand this trade. So Travis Hamonic for a 3rd-round pick. And we got to remember, Ottawa is not a playoff team. Travis Hamonic was on waivers earlier in the season. Ottawa had a chance to claim him, did not claim him. Instead, they give up an asset for a guy they could have had at the beginning of the season. This does not make really any sense to me. I know Hamonic's a good locker room guy. I know they can see him as a fit, but this is such a weird trade. Why would Ottawa do this?
I think Ottawa being shambles over here. I mean, on paper and roster, they're a young team, and I mean, I've watched them play, and you can see that they're clearly a young team. Like they're not at that level yet to compete and win. I mean, even though they should be, and they have the talent and skills there, but I mean, maybe they're hitting the panic button. I really don't know what to tell you.
You know, I don't know how the money was working out earlier in the season. Maybe that's why they didn't pick him up.
Right. Yeah.
If they didn't have roster spaces, that could be another reason. But you know, they only gave up a 3rd-round pick, not much there. I really like Travis Hamonic and the way he plays. Ottawa still has plenty of draft picks. I'm not really worried about the trade. I don't mind it.
Understandable. This one was a really good trade for LA because Drew Doughty's going to be out of the lineup for long term. So they acquire Troy Stetcher, pretty solid defenseman with a good NHL resume. Just trade a 7th-round pick to get him. Again, pretty good trade for Los Angeles, adding some depth. Every team needs depth down the stretch.
Yeah, you need at least 8D in the playoffs. So adding a depth guy like that and only giving up a 7th-round pick, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. Next one, really like this pickup by Vancouver, Travis Dermott, who's been, we've heard his name in the rumor mill now for the last 3 years, I think. But Vancouver should be a good fit for the guy. He should slide onto that bottom pair with whoever is going to be there. They only give him a 3rd-round pick from Winnipeg to do so. What do you guys think of Travis Dermott?
I think he needed to get out of Toronto, and I think Vancouver is going to be a really good landing spot for him.
Yep. I agree. Yeah, that's pretty solid. I think everybody agrees with this one. And this one, kind of, I thought Seattle could have gotten more, but at the same time, I understand. So Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Mark Giordano again, 50% salary retained, solid player, depth player, and Colin Blackwell, the bottom 6 guy. They get 2022 2nd-round pick, a 2023 2nd-round pick, and a 2024 3rd-round pick. Again, Seattle, we know what they're doing, adding picks to the cupboard to draft their team. Giordano, good experienced defenseman, a little older, goes to Toronto to solidify that top 4, especially with Jake Muzzin out. They add a nice bottom 6 piece of Blackwell. What do you guys think?
Hometown boys coming home back to Toronto. I know this. I think this trade was in the works for a while. I know Seattle really wanted the 1st-round pick from Mark Giordano, and I couldn't understand why Toronto wasn't really willing to get that up. He's pretty old. They're definitely just getting a rental defenseman out there, but I think Giordano's a great leadership, and with a team Toronto who's lacking some defense, I think it's a great pickup by them.
You know, Toronto's been having problems recently with goaltending. Another way you can, they didn't get a goaltender. So, adding another defenseman to reduce chances out front, that could be good. Mark Giordano's not getting any younger. He wants a chance to win, and he sees Toronto as a good opportunity. And I like the trade a lot on Toronto's side.
Yeah, you can never have too much depth, and again, who knows with Jake Muzzin how long he'll be out for. So that's a great pickup there. Moving on to this, and then I've talked about solidifying Tampa's third line. This is another example of doing that. They acquired Nick Paul from the Ottawa Senators, 44% salary retained. They give up Matthew Joseph, who has been on the bottom six in and out of the lineup on their playoff runs and a 4th-round pick. I mean, you're a Senators fan. You've seen Nick Paul play. What do you think of this deal?
I mean, again, I think the Sens are in shambles right now. They're a little bit of a mess. To be honest, I think we're at a point where we're expected to be doing a lot better than we thought we. Let me rephrase that. We honestly thought we should have been doing a lot better, but we're not actually performing that to expectation. So I guess we said we're done rebuilding, but I guess we need to do something. Yeah. I guess this is what they think is best.
I really like the pickup of Matthew Joseph by Ottawa. I think that's a good piece for them moving forward into next year. They're not going to be making playoffs this year, but I do like that as a future move. Nick Paul, again, you see Tampa the last 2 years having a really good 3rd and 4th line. I think he's just another guy that's going to add to that, that can play those roles.
Absolutely. He fits that perfectly. This one was an interesting one. So Jack Mcdane did not sign with the Minnesota Wild, so they traded his signing rights to the Arizona Coyotes, and they got a 2nd-round pick back from Vancouver. Again, this is, I think this is a solid trade for both teams. Minnesota, they're going to lose him in August anyway, so they can gain a free draft pick. And Arizona, I see this. They have so many draft picks where they can afford to give that up for a guy who has a chance to be a pretty good NHL player. So what do you guys think of Jack McBain?
Yeah, I think that's a good move for Arizona. I do think maybe not a 2nd rounder, but I do like the pickup by Arizona, and hopefully he signs with them.
Yeah, he just did, I think, as well, which is pretty cool.
I think Arizona needed that W there. I know they've been struggling.
Absolutely. This one's a weird one. Scott Wedgwood dealt to Dallas, 4th-round pick. 3rd-round pick if Dallas makes the playoffs. Again, should be a backup goalie because Holtby's on long-term IR now. So Ottinger and Wedgwood will be the tandem. Makes sense now. People were confused now. Hudobin out, Bishop retired, and Hudobin
retired.
Yes, and Hudobin. First we thought they have 4 goalies. Now trading for Wedgwood, so another goalie for Dallas. Hopefully it works out for Scott Wedgwood. But pretty understandable trade.
Yeah, I think that's pretty simple. At the beginning of the year, they thought they had 4 goalies pretty much. I don't know how long Hudobin's out for, if he's out for the season.
He's pretty much out for the year. 6 months, I think.
All right, yeah. So this is a good pickup. I think Ottinger's still going to be the starter. Yeah. Wedgwood will be the backup, but it's a good little backup trade here.
Yep. Moving on to this one, a lot of people said Nashville overpaid. They acquired Jeremy Lauzon from the Seattle Kraken in exchange for a 2nd-round pick. Again, that's the market right now. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. Lauzon, guy has playoff experience with Boston, played some big minutes for Seattle this year. I also like the pickup by Nashville. I think, he has a ton of experience, and I think he's a little bit overhated. Should add some help to the penalty kill. What do you guys think?
I really like the way Jeremy Lauzon plays, and I really like Nashville too. They're in the 3rd spot right now in the Central, I believe.
Yep.
And again, you're going to need a lot of defensemen when it comes to playoff time. Guys get injured. You need to move things around. I think this is a really good trade for them.
Yeah, people don't understand that. Defensemen, you need 8 at least.
And I don't think this is an overpayment. I mean, no. You're getting a good defenseman in return. He plays a lot in the NHL. And, to get good defenseman, the price is high right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I don't see anything wrong with getting the 2nd-round pick for it. So.
Yeah, this one's weird. A lot of people are kind of criticizing Winnipeg because they traded away guys like Kopp and other assets, but they reacquire Mason Appleton, who was originally a Jet. Fan favorite there. Seattle, again, gets another draft pick. I like this move for Winnipeg. They need roster players, and Seattle gets the draft pick. What do you guys think?
Not a huge fan of the trade from the Seattle perspective. They just got Appleton in the expansion draft. I think he played well for them. Winnipeg, they needed him back. He's a good player. A 4th-round pick, I just don't think that's enough for getting him back, and I don't see the point of the trade in Seattle's perspective. They now have, I think, 25 draft picks after yesterday's deadline, and that's just
insane. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I'd use them for future trades. That's what I'm thinking.
They could over the summer.
Over the summer, they have at least 4 2nd-round picks for 2022, and I'm pretty sure some of those would be pretty valuable.
Here's another trade of Winnipeg trading Nathan Beaulieu, a conditional 7th-round pick. Pretty much almost future considerations, but not Again, Bullier, I think he'll fit fine in Pittsburgh. Again, we're seeing just depth defensemen being acquired because that's what teams need for the playoffs. Pretty understandable move by Pittsburgh.
I think Bullier's on LTIR, but it's just a simple little trade. It's getting future considerations. He had a great day yesterday, as Evan was saying earlier. But yeah,
hopefully he'll be back for the playoffs.
I don't remember saying that, but yeah, crazy.
Moving on. This one, Evan can talk about this. Marcus Johansson, 50% salary retained. Daniel Sprong heading to Seattle, along with a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick. Again, Johansson has been around the Caps organization. He has a lot of playoff experience. Daniel Sprong going the other way. Evan, what do you think? You're a Caps fan.
Mojo coming back to the Caps. I mean, when he was on the Caps, I loved him. He's a great player. I really needed him. But I think the Caps, I don't know what they're doing. Our problem is we need to be younger and faster. And I know Daniel Sprong's not the youngest guy, but he's definitely younger than Marcus Johansson. And giving him away and for an older guy, veteran guy, I know he has that experience and he obviously knows the team well. He's been with us before. So the chemistry's still probably going to be there. I just don't think this is the move to go. I mean, honestly, this trade is letting guys like Connor McMichael going back to AHL and not getting that playing time because Marcus Johansson's back in the lineup. I mean, no, I love Marcus Johansson. I loved him when he was on the Caps, but I don't think this was the move the Caps needed to do. I'm not a big fan of this trade.
I'd have to agree. I don't think Marcus Johansson's going to add that much. I don't think the Caps are a better team after this trade. And I don't like them giving up, the 2 picks for it. It's not. I don't think.
I'd be fine if it was just the 2 picks, but add Daniel Sprong in there
doesn't seem worth it.
I think it's definitely overpaid.
I don't think the team's any better.
Yeah.
This one was kind of interesting. Marc-Andre Fleury, love this pickup from Minnesota, 50% salary retained, and then a 2nd-round pick in 2022. The pick will become a first if Minnesota makes the Western Conference Final and Fleury wins 4 games played in the first 3 rounds. Okay, so essentially, Minnesota has had a goaltending problem. They addressed it. Now I think they have one of the better tandems in the league. What do you guys think of MAF heading to Minnesota?
I mean, I personally didn't think Minnesota had that much of a goaltending problem. I know Cam Talbot could be, a little bit inconsistent there, but I'm honestly surprised. I did not think Marc-Andre Fleury would be going to Minnesota. There was still part of me that was hoping he was going to the Caps, but I'm just glad he didn't go back to Pittsburgh. That's all I'm going to say for that. And good for Minnesota. I think Minnesota needed to win a nice superstar to back up behind them in the net. I think I like Minnesota. I want them to do well, so hopefully this is what they need to do it.
Yeah, a lot of times in the playoffs it comes down to which team's got the hotter goalie. Cam Talbot's been all right for Minnesota this year, but bringing a guy in like Marc-Andre Fleury who's been there, done that, won a couple Stanley Cups, you can't go wrong with that, and I don't think they paid too much for him. I really like the trade.
Moving on to another trade. I love this pickup by New York. Justin Braun, adding great defensive depth in the playoffs. They only give up a 3rd-round pick to do so. Braun's a pretty good penalty killer, has some good experience. You guys say that's a good pickup for the Rangers?
Yeah, great pickup. Nice little simple trade here for a 3rd-round pick. Justin Braun adds depth. Again, you need a lot of defensemen when it comes playoff time. I really like the trade. Perfect.
Moving on to the next trade. Kaapo Kakkonen and a 5th-round pick headed to San Jose. Jacob Middleton in return for Minnesota. So this is since they acquired Fleury. They have to give up Kakkonen and get a pretty solid defenseman back in Middleton. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Kakkonen, he's had an okay year this year with Minnesota. Middleton, I really like him, and I think that's a good depth piece for Minnesota. But to get Kakkonen out of there because they just got Fleury, I think this is a lot to make the money work as well. So
makes sense for both teams. You say so?
I mean, I don't know. To me, personally, in my eyes, Marc-Andre Fleury is kind of a rental goaltender. Who knows what his future is going to be after the season? Might retire. Mm-hmm. Maybe he might not even stay with Minnesota. Not sure. So I don't think giving up Kaapo Kakkonen was potentially the right move for Minnesota, but I'm not in an organization, so I'm making those decisions.
Well, I think Jesper Wallstedt should be ready in a year or two by the time Fleury and Talbot are out. So I guess that's probably Minnesota's understanding. Kaapo Kakkonen will not be the future goaltender there, but I can understand that point as well, for sure. So moving on to the next major trade. I like this one. I'm a Bruins fan. You're a Senators fan. You're a Beast fan. I love the addition of Josh Braun. Ottawa gets a former 15th overall pick, Zack Stenishkin, and they had a 5th round pick as well. So what do you guys think of this trade? Good change of scenery for both players, I'd say.
Yeah, I think Boston was lacking the physicality, which you don't really hear a lot of times with the Bruins team. But I think Josh Braun really adds that to the lineup. Another depth defenseman for a playoff run. And Zack Senyshyn, he didn't really make it in the NHL yet. I think a change of scenery was needed. This just goes back to that first round where they had their draft picks 13, 14, and 15 in 2015. I think that's going to be it's going to be a little break here coming up soon when Bergeron and Marchand retire, where that'll kind of ruins for a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And pretty basic trade. Makes sense with the games. Yeah. Moving on to the next one. I love this pickup for the Abs. Arturi Lehkonen was great in the playoffs for Montreal last year. Comes over. They gave up Justin Barron. Pretty good defensive prospect, and a 2nd round pick. I think this is, Colorado saying they're going all in.
Yeah, it's Colorado getting some more experience. I like the trade.
Yep.
Yeah. Lunch is ended for this year.
They're going for it. This one, St. Louis, I didn't really like this move from the Blues perspective. They get Nick Leddy, who has playoff experience, and Luke Witkowski. But they give up Oscar Sundqvist, who has won a cup, Jake Wallman, who a lot of the Blues fans said they were a big fan of Wallman, and they give up a 2nd round pick here. This doesn't really make a ton of sense on St. Louis' side, to be honest. But do you like the trade for the Blues?
I'm not a huge fan just because I don't think this is making the team, exponentially better. I don't think this is going to really help them all that much, make a huge push, especially giving up Sundqvist. I'm not a huge fan for St. Louis, but for the Red Wings, I think it's a great pickup for them.
Definitely one team won this trade over here, and I think it's definitely the Red Wings.
Absolutely, 100%. This trade, really underrated trade. Johan Larsson, 50% salary retained for a 3rd round pick. Again, Caps adding depth, and Larsson was a pretty good player for Arizona. I like this trade for Washington.
It's like one of those other issues. We're just adding more depth players, and that's not allowing some of our younger guys, again, like Connor McMichael, from getting that playing time that I think he really needs in this critical time of his career, and especially for we haven't got past the 1st round in the past 4 years, so I think Connor McMichael needs that playoff experience, and he's just not going to get it. And I don't think these trades are helping develop our young players, which is what we need as a Capitals organization.
Right. Pretty good pickup though, but understandable from a fan's perspective. Again, this one's a basic trade. I'm just gonna say it. Cogliano for a 5th. Again, Colorado going all in, adding depth. That's what it is. You can't really say it's bad or good. It's the trade. This one was weird. Zach Sanford to Winnipeg. Again, it's Winnipeg. Are you buying or selling? I don't know. You traded Andrew Kopp and then you acquire Zach Sanford, who's kind of dog shit, but then you get a 5th round pick. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much going on in this trade. To be honest with you, I don't think either team really.
It's a trade.
Gave up too much. It was simple.
Again, more. We see Tyler Mott headed to the New York Rangers, 4th round pick. Again, Rangers adding depth. Again, we're seeing a ton of trades like that. And then, another trade, Derek Brassard for a 4th round pick. Again,
Oilers didn't get their goalie, but they're adding some more depth guys. I really like maybe look at the chances.
Yeah.
They haven't had a lot of experience going deep in the playoffs recently, so I like to pick up.
And then Ryan Carpenter for a 5th round pick. Again, very similar type trade. Calgary, another team going all in. And Dallas acquired Vladimir Mestikov for a 4th round pick. I think they're on the bubble right now, but I think this is a pretty good trade for Dallas. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Dallas is just outside the playoffs right now. I think adding a depth guy like that and Detroit picking up a pick, I think is going to help them in the next couple of years.
For sure. This is the big one. Kind of making me think. Winnipeg, what are you doing? Are you selling? Are you buying? Why do you acquire all those pieces? You got Andrew Kopp heading to the Rangers and a 6th round pick. They get a 2022 conditional 2nd round pick, a 1st if New York Rangers make the Eastern Conference Final, plus Kopp plays on 50% of the playoff games. And then there's more conditions on another 2nd round pick, and then a 5th round pick, and then Morgan Barron, who's a pretty good AHL player. I like New York going all in. I think Kopp's going to help them out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think New York needed a guy like Kopp. I don't think they gave up too much. This is again just adding another another piece to an already strong lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg, I think they realize they're not there yet, and it's okay to go with a guy like Cobb.
Especially if he's not going to come back.
Right.
Moving over, Pittsburgh, I kind of like this trade, but a lot of people said I don't think they really overpaid for it. Ricardo Cal, 35% salary retained. They gave him a second. Zach Reese is a good bottom six guy. Dominic Simone, Callie Klang, again, could pick up for Pittsburgh, adding that big piece for them, for their middle six.
Yeah, I like the trade. I like Ricardo Cal. I like the way he plays. I think losing Zach Reese is going to be big for Pittsburgh, but I think that Pittsburgh is better overall after that trade. What do you think, Evan? You been watching?
I'm just gonna have no comments here.
No comments.
I'm hoping. I will say this. I'm hoping that in the long run, it does end up that Pittsburgh overpaid, and that they might regret giving up that second round pick.
Fair enough. Montreal trades penalty killer Brent Kulak. They acquire Lagesson. A second goes to 2023 second. If 2022 goes to Chicago, there's a weird condition on that. A 7th round pick, pretty simple trade. Big pickup for Edmonton though. I like Kulak a lot. So
yeah, I think that's a good depth piece for the Oilers. They need that. Like I said, they don't have a lot of those guys.
Sure. And then the last big one, Max Domi, heading to Carolina. They didn't really give up much. It was a 3-way trade technically, but all they really gave up was Aiden Hirschchuk, who was a 94th overall pick like last year's draft. They get a pretty good middle six player in Domi. Florida helps out to retain some salary, gets a couple free players. I like this trade from Carolina.
Yeah, I like the Blue Jackets. I don't think Max Domi was a guy that they needed to build that team around. I think he is a guy that Carolina could use. But I don't think I don't think the Blue Jackets should have given up the 6th round pick. I don't think that was smart of them. Carolina should have done something like that to make the money work. But yeah, overall, I think Carolina has some nice pieces. Blue Jackets get a nice prospect in return. So it's an all right trade.
It's an all right trade. Well, those are all the major trades at the deadline. Guys, let me know what you guys think. Who won the deadline? Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to get this past 22 views for Evan. And if you guys like Evan and Dan, make sure to comment, like the video, share, and subscribe. And thank you for coming on to the Backcheck Podcast.